don't sit there and fucking tell me he didn't hit him to the back of the head. I don't give a fuck if your fist is going on the other side of his ear. When your forearm is hitting him to the back of the head, it's the fucking back of the head. Michael Chandler has hit Tony Ferguson status. Just being honest.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
No, not yet. Not yet.
Yes. Really? Who's he going to beat? Who's he going to beat? He looked slow. At times, okay, you want to talk about looking slow. You cannot look slow in the lightweight division.
No.
You're going to die. He got out-wrestled by a jiu-jitsu guy. Tell me he didn't.
With that. Charles Oliveira can wrestle.
I'm not saying he can't. Excuse me. Where did Charles Oliveira wrestle at? I can't recall. I can't recall. Where did he wrestle at? Where was his scholarship at?
Where did Habib wrestle at? Where did Habib wrestle at? He never wrestled in high school.
Where
wrestled in college? Never wrestled at all.
Habib grew up wrestling.
Habib never wrestled.
Charles did not.
Never wrestled anywhere. Never wrestled. Neither did Islam. And like, where did they wrestle at? What high school? What college, John?
Hold it. You're gonna tell me his. You're gonna tell me his dad did not grow up wrestling.
Give me a
name.
So
you're lying now. He was here. You want me to bring out? He's wrestling bears. Okay.
The new
so he went to bear jitsu school and wrestled.
Can wrestle. New age jiu-jitsu guys can wrestle. Majority of them can. You've got to have takedowns.
I'm not saying you don't. What I'm saying is he does not have the background in wrestling that Chandler does. The 2 years showed that not only did Chandler not improve as a fighter, he declined, and he watched his career start to expire. He's calling out Conor McGregor after losing again.
Yeah, I know.
What the hell? You can't do that.
I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt in one thing. Okay. The 2 years away definitely didn't help him. That was one. Two was he went all the way up to 170, which he was supposed to fight at, which he was probably at 190. I feel like the same way with him as I felt like with Max. And I said that about 2-3 weeks ago. Are we going to see the Michael Chandler that has sucked his weight back down, spent his whole camp trying to get his weight down to 155 again? Is that what we're going to see? I think we saw that. I think he looked exhausted, even though everyone's like, oh, he looked great. Like, no, he didn't look great. After he punched himself out after about a minute in each round, he was fatigued. Muscles were too big. He's always been
filled with lactic acid.
He's always all the lactic acid built up. He's always been able to push through that because he's been even though he's always been big, his muscle endurance has been able to push through because that's kind of the weight that he's trained at. Around that 175, 180 mark is where he's trained at. So getting up to 175 and then competing is probably not that difficult for him. I felt like in the fight, you could tell after about 2 or 3 minutes of him trying to defend Charles Oliveira, he just looked swollen. He was all the muscle built up on all the water or whatever it was, retention. He just looked puffy and swollen. And I think that affected his performance. Sure, he had a great fifth round, but that's because Charles was tired from back control, mount control, submission attempts, from doing everything he wanted, for 4 rounds. And I think what you saw with Michael Chandler was he has learned, I think now, which is kind of sad because he's always been a die on the show kind of guy. Last night he accepted positions and just was like, I'll just get through the round.
Yeah, I'll just make it to the end so they stand me up.
Yep. Either stand me up or I'll just wait till the round's over and then I'll just get the next round. Well, then
where it used to be, he would try to twist inside a figure 4. He would always be working towards it. I love the fact that he came back and put on a good round in the 5th round. But in reality, Josh, there shouldn't have been a 5th round.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, there shouldn't have been a 5th round because Oliveira should have gotten the finish. He didn't. Okay, but even that. It was a co-main. It should have been a 3-round fight. It should have been that Michael Chandler just got crushed and lost the 2nd round 10-8. He got crushed.
Yeah,
I mean, just crushed.
I'm not ready to put him in the Tony Ferguson marquee yet.
Do me a favor. Pull up the rankings there because
I got him right here.
Who's he going to fight?
So he's not. I mean, look, you can see him probably. I'm down with the Dustin fight again.
Oh, come on. First off, Dustin doesn't want to fight him again, and he doesn't want to fight him because of the same things that he fucking ended up doing in the Oliveira fight. Now, I always sit there and say, if you're not cheating, you're not trying.
Oh, yeah.
But don't sit there and fucking tell me he didn't hit him to the back of the head. I don't give a fuck if your fist is going on the other side of his ear. When your forearm is hitting him to the back of the head, it's the fucking back of the head.
And then he grabbed the fence a bunch of times.
No shit.
Legit, use the fence. So, he grabbed the fence.
Reaches over the top.
He grabbed the fence on the bottom. He was using the fence to pull himself up. Yeah, I get it.
Now, I did see Charles reaching inside his glove.
Yeah.
So he was cheating back a little bit there. Good for him. Okay.
You know?
But I mean, look, Dustin Poirier is a guy that I got nothing but respect for. He doesn't want to fight him. Why? Because
I wouldn't want to fight him either.
The guy went and fucking fish hooked him. He's fucking basically spit in his face, blowing, his fucking nose on top of him. It's like, come on, you don't do that shit.
No. I would go Michael Chandler. You can say Beneil Dariush. The two of them would be a fun fight. They both get after it. I'm saying entertainment-wise. Is he going to make a title run? No, he's not going to make a title run. But you're putting him on Tony Ferguson level at 7 losses in a row or 8 losses
in a row. I'm not saying he's got 7 losses in a row. I'm saying he's on the same path as Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson lost. Hold on. When you think about this, think about it. Tony Ferguson was the interim champ. He loses to Justin Gaethje off of a 12-fight win streak. And then everything just starts going downhill. And he loses to Charles, right? And he just keeps on, he's fighting, but he's just not able to bring that same intensity and all of the activity that he was able to bring during those 12 fights. Well, yeah. I think Mike's in the same position. He's trying. There's not a doubt in my mind he's working his ass off. It's just not happening like it used to happen for him. He can't get to those places. When you have Charles Oliveira just stalking you down, okay, stalking you down throughout the entire fight in the stand-up. There was only one time that the Chandler was the guy coming forward. Okay,
yeah, but John, you're acting like Charles Oliveira is like chopped liver or something.
I'm not saying he's chopped liver. I'm not saying he's chopped liver. I'm saying he's a phenomenal fighter, but he's not a guy that uses pressure in the stand-up a lot. Sometimes he'll stand his ground, but he doesn't chase people down. He was just chasing Mike down because Mike couldn't stand him. Normally, generally, usually, when you want to stand your ground, Josh, you can stand your ground.
Yeah. Look, John, I really believe carrying that weight for that amount of time, you're training to that weight. Your body gets used to carrying that weight. And now you deplete that all to make weight for a fight. He looked great in terms of at the scale, weeks, I think a week or two before, he looking ripped and shredded at training camp. But you spent your whole camp pretty much getting your weight down, it looks like. You could look the part, but your body just physically couldn't do it. I felt like we saw that with Max as well. And Max checked out and goes, I'm done with this weight class. I feel like he spent this time away going, hey, I've got to make some changes to the way I fight. Because the only time he had success was when he did the old Mike and actually bit down on the mouthpiece and walked him down and tried to land the big shots. That's the only time he ever had success. He got comfortable with having his back to the fence. He looked like shit every time his back hit the fence. But I think that's because I feel like it's because of the weight cut. He had no energy to fight. He was depleted. And it comes in spurts. When you're depleted like that, you have about 30 seconds and then you're tired again and you recover about a minute and a half. His body was physically in shape. His lungs were, but his actual muscle endurance just could not go. So he could explode. He was like a fucking heavyweight at fighting at 155. Just no explosion after a minute or 30 seconds. That's exactly what it was. And then he'd throw as hard as he could, and then he'd settle down for a little bit, throw as hard as he could, settle down for a little bit. He just didn't have it, man. He didn't have it. I think the time away really affected him. I think the weight he put on in the off camp, in the off time, really affected him. I'm not saying that I'm ready to call him Tony Ferguson, but I'm looking at, I've got Dariush, he could fight. Gamrot, he could fight.
Gamrot. Have you lost it?
Gamrot's number 9 or 10 right now, John. He's not even.
Dude, Gamrot will fucking dog walk him over a goddamn fucking fight.
All right. Well, I guess the only way to find out. Let's see it. Let's see it.
Look at your matchmaking now.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to stay away from guys like Jalen Turner. He's got to stay away from guys that are that body style. Moicano, he's got to stay away from. I think those guys, outside of what happened in the 5th round, he's obviously still has power. Charles looked exhausted in the 5th, and you could tell.
Charles was exhausted in the 5th, and that's part of the reason he got hit. Charles, between the 4th and 5th round, and he's telling his corner, shake out my arms. Yeah, he's on his back and things like that, but he's working and he's trying and he's controlling a guy who is a powerful, strong guy.
Why didn't Chandler step out of the guard and say, get back up to your feet? That's the only way he was going to win that fight.
Why didn't he? Tell me.
He was tired.
Because there you go.
But John,
it was easier to stay down there. It was easier to stay down there in that position than it was to say, I got to get my ass up and get this guy on his feet because he's hurt.
Not in the 5th round. Get your ass back up. I need to knock you out because it's the only way I'm winning this fight. He had some good ground and pound, but I just like, man, why stay in that position? That's where he can stall you out. That's where he can.
Yeah, some good ground and pound to the back of the head is what he had.
John, that was nasty.
That was bad. You got to look and say, man, I understand where his fist is at. Doesn't matter. His forearm is clubbing him to the back of the head. That's illegal. You can't allow that to happen.
So tell me what you would have done. You would have stopped him and stood him up?
Absolutely. Like, I said, the fact that you looked slow.
Yeah. It could be from the extra weight he put on, John.
Dude, okay, it could be. We're gonna find out in the next one. Because
I wonder who they're thinking about giving them. That's what I'm wondering.
I don't know.
I
know they're going to be Connor. I guarantee you that one.
Well, Dan Hooker talked about running it back with him. He wants that fight back.
Yeah, that would be a horrible fight for him now. Just being honest.
You have nothing positive to say about Michael Chandler.
I love Michael Chandler.
That's it,
I
though.
just saw in that fight just proved to you what being out of the sport for 2 years will do to you.
Especially at 38 years old or 37.
That's right.
Whatever he is.
If you were 25 and you didn't fight till you were 27, no problem. Yeah. Doesn't matter. Look, it does matter when you get into the high end of your 30s, especially in the lighter weights.
I've said this before, man. Chandler's exactly where I was when I fought Tony Ferguson. And Tony Ferguson was where I was when he fought Justin Gaethje. It's just that it happens. You got to be able to see it and recognize it and figure out what you want to do with yourself.
I don't want to see Michael Chandler damaged. I don't want to see him.
Too late for that.
It only gets worse.
No, it's gonna get. It's gonna get worse.
And when you're fighting guys that are in the top 5, man, they will alter your life.
No,
they will change. One fight will alter the rest of your life, and that's that's honestly. I'm not saying this because I don't like Chandler. I do, but man, I'm seeing. Unless you decide to go and do like what Jim Miller's doing, you're calling out, people to fight. It's like, man, I'm seeing the change, and you're just getting hit more.
Yeah,
and you're having more difficulty.
This episode is brought to you by BetUS. Make sure you guys YouTube 150 for the promo code. Also, Element, use the link in the descriptions down below. Any product you buy from there, they will send you a bonus package of product if you use our link down below. Element's amazing, man. I love it. And I want to say thank you, man. Thank you guys so much for continuing to support us.